Hello students, in the previous video lecture we already discussed regarding storage management activities. So in the present video session we'll discuss about information lifecycle management. In both traditional data centers and virtualized environments, managing information can be expensive if not managed appropriately. Along with the tools, an effective management strategy is also required to manage information efficiently. The strategy should address some set of key challenges that exist with respect to the data centers. Information Lifecycle Management, in short, we can call it as ILM. We can call it as ILM. Is a proactive strategy that enables an IT organization to effectively manage information. So we have to manage the entire information available within the data center effectively throughout its life cycle based on predefined business policies. So we'll be having some set of policies or rules, and this specifies how we can monitor the data more effectively as well as more efficiently. From data creation to the data deletion, ILM aligns the business requirements to processes with service levels in an automated fashion. This allows an IT organization to optimize the storage infrastructure for maximum return on investment. So, in the case of ILM, so we have to manage the data from the creation to the actual deletion of the data. So, we have to adopt some set of policies, and as per those set of policies, we can manage the data more efficiently. Implementing an ILM strategy has the following key benefits that directly address the challenges of information management. So the first key benefit is lower total cost of ownership. By aligning the infrastructure and management cost with information values, as a result, resources are not wasted and complexity is not introduced by managing low value data at the expense of high value data. So we have to adopt some set of strategies so that we can manage the data with the expense of high value of the data. So the next key benefit is simplified management. So we can integrate the process steps and interfaces with individual tools and by increasing automation. So finally we are adapting automation concepts, so that is why we can integrate as well as we can interface the different processes as well as individual tools. The next key factor is maintaining compliance by knowing what data need to be protected for what length. So we have to decide which set of data or information need to be stored within the data center for what length of time, till what extent the data need to be protected within the data center. So next one is optimized utilization. So we can adopt some strategy called as storage tiering or storage tiering. With respect to that, we can get optimized performance as well as optimized utilization of the entire storage capacity. So the diagram shows an example in a sales order application. The value of information, that means the value of information. So in this case, information means customer data. Information in the sense customer data. It may changes from the time the order is placed until the time that the warranty becomes void. The value of the information is highest when the company receives a new sale order. So we can say that whenever the customer is placed any new order, new sales order, at that instant data has high value. So you can say that the value of information is more whenever the company receives the sales order. After the order is placed, the customer data does not need to be available for real-time access. After providing the service, so it is not mandatory that we have to store the data. So that means the customer data does not need to be available for real-time access. The company can transfer such kind of data to less expensive secondary storage. So now the data can be migrated towards the secondary storage. Since the value of data is less, so we can copy or migrate the data towards the secondary storage with lesser amount of performance until a warranty claim or another event triggers its needed. After the warranty becomes void, the company can dispose this information. So initially we can say that data has highest value whenever the customer placed their order. So initially new order is placed, process the order, deliver the order. So if fulfill the order, so if suppose any warranty comes, warranty claim. So after placing the order or after delivering the item into the customer, so I can say that that is aged data. So it is not mandatory that company need to store the data in the original data storage. So because such set of data need not be available for real time access. So we can consider or we can migrate towards the secondary storage, or else we can say that archive data. Finally, if the warranty period voided, so the company can dispose the entire data. So this diagram completely shows how the value of the information is changing and how we can store the data and what exactly the value of the data in stage wise. So key challenges that exist in today's data center. The first key challenge is exploiting digital universe. The rate of information growth is increasing exponentially. Creating copies of data to ensure high availability and repurposing has contributed to the multi-fold increase of information growth. So exploiting digital universe in the sense, we know that the rate of information growth is increasing. So we have to create multiple copies of data in order to provide high availability. So the second key challenge is increasing dependency on information. The strategy use of information plays an important role in determining the success of business and provides competitive advantages in market. So the last key challenge is changing value of information. Information that is valuable today might become less important tomorrow, like sales order information. The value of information often changes over time. So depending upon that, we have to maintain the data center. So the data center can store the data with higher value, and we can have the archive data or secondary storage in order to store the data with the lesser value. Storage tiering. The storage tiering enables storing the right data to the right tier based on service level requirement at a minimal cost. Each tier has different levels of protection, performance and the cost. For example, high performance solid state drives, that is SSDs or FC drives, can be configured as tier 1 storage to keep frequently accessed data. So we can have different tier levels, tier 1 as well as tier 2, and with respect to tier 1 we can keep high performance solid state drives or IFC drives in order to keep or in order to store frequently accessed data, and low cost SATA drives as tier 2 storage to keep the less frequently accessed data. Keeping frequently used data in SSD or FC improves application performance. Moving less frequently accessed data to SATA can free up the storage capacity in high performance drives and reduce the cost of storage. This movement of data happens based on defined tiering policies. The storage tiering can be implemented as manual or automated process. So we can implement the storage tiering either on manual process or else automated process. So in the case of manual storage tiering, is a traditional method where the storage administrator monitors the storage workloads periodically. So storage administrator need to manage or monitor the entire workload periodically and moves the data between the tiers. Manual storage tiering is complex and time consuming because the administrator need to manually move the data by considering the actual value of the data. So the second method is automated storage tiering. Automates the storage tiering process in which the data movement between the tiers is performed non-disruptively. In automated storage tiering, the application workload is proactively monitored. The active data is automatically moved to a higher performance tiers. So we can categorize data into active as well as inactive data. So we can categorize the data as active data as well as inactive data. So the active data can be copied into high performance disk and inactive data can be copied into lower performance tiers. Data movements between various tiers can happen within or between the storage array. So if the data movement happens between or within the storage array, then that is called as intra-array storage tiering. If it is between the storage array, then it is called as inter-array storage tiering. So first we will consider intra-array storage tiering, the process of storage tiering within a storage array. So the process of data movement within the storage array, which is called as intra-array storage tiering. It enables the efficient use of SSDs, FC as well as SATA drives within an array, and which provides high performance as well as cost optimization. The goal is to keep the SSD busy by storing the most frequent data accessed on them while moving out the less frequently accessed data to the SATA drives. So here high performance data, SSD and FC drives can be used in order to store, we can say that, high performance or active data, and SATA drives can be used in order to copy low performance or inactive data or less frequently accessed data. Traditionally, the storage tiering is operated at the LUN level that moves an entire LUN from one tier to the another tier. So we can consider the storage tiering by considering the LUN level. So we can copy the entire LUN. So this is LUN level tiering. So here we can observe that move entire LUN from tier 1 to tier 0 for improved performance. So here we can observe that the data migration can be considered with respect to the LUN level. The movement includes both active as well as inactive data in the LUN. This method does not give effective cost as well as performance benefits. So we can consider the data. So here it is move entire LUN with inactive data from tier 0 to tier 1. So we can say that we are having two tier architecture, tier 0 as well as tier 1. So whatever the inactive data is located within tier 0. So inactive data is copied into inactive data can be copied into tier 1 from tier 0, and whatever the active data which is located in the tier 0 which will be copied into tier 1. So now we are having only active or frequently accessed data within tier 0 and all the inactive data which is located within tier 1. So similarly we can consider sub-LUN tiering. So in the case of sub-LUN tiering, we can observe that we are having two LUNs here. So we can move inactive data from tier 0 to tier 1. Similarly, move active data from tier 1 to tier 0 in order to improve the performance. So this is how we can implement the tiered architecture by considering intra-array storage tiering. So the diagram shows tiering is also be implemented at the cache level. Large cache in a storage array improves performance by retaining a large amount of data. And so we can store frequently accessed data within the cache. So most reads are served directly from the cache. However, configuring a large cache in the storage array involves more cost. An alternative way to create the size of the cache is by utilizing the SSDs on the storage array. So either in order to improve the performance, either we have to consider or we have to enlarge the size of the cache. That means we have to design large cache size. But cost wise, if you are considering, which will be much costlier, so in order to overcome from that, we can adopt an alternative way in order to increase the size of the cache by considering SSDs. On the storage array. In cache tiering, SSDs are used as a large capacity secondary cache. So this can be called as large capacity secondary cache. So which is large capacity secondary cache. So we are having a DRAM or primary cache. So this is the primary cache which is organized as tier 0, and the large capacity which is organized as tier 1. Server flash caching is another tier of cache in which a flash cache card is installed in the server level in order to improve or in order to enhance the entire application performance. Inter-array storage tiering. The meaning of inter-array storage tiering is nothing but the process of storage tiering between storage arrays. Inter-array storage tiering automates the identification of active as well as inactive data to relocate them to different performance or capacity tiers between the arrays. So now we'll be having two different arrays and we can segregate the data as active as well as inactive data, and we can relocate those active as well as inactive data to two different performance or capacity tiers between the arrays. So the diagram shows implementation of inter-array storage tiering. It consisting of two storages, the tier 1 as primary storage and tier 2 as secondary storage. So the tier 1 which optimizes the performance. We can say that the tier 1 which optimizes the performance and tier 2 which optimizes the cost as well as capacity. So we can also observe that we are having one policy based data movement between the tiers. So in order to facilitate that, we are considering policy engine. So this policy engine either may be hardware or else software. The policy engine may be either hardware or software, where the policies can be configured in order to move the active as well as inactive data between primary as well as secondary storage. Some prevalent reasons to tier data across arrays to the secondary storage. So we can also consider archival or archiving of data in order to meet the actual data requirement. For example, the policy engine might be configured in order to relocate all the files in the primary storage that have not been accessed in 1 month. So we can consider one example like the policy engine can be reconfigured in order to relocate all the files or data which are not frequently used from last 1 month, and we can archive such set of data to the secondary storage. So that means the inactive data whatever which is located in tier 1, so we can migrate towards tier 2. For each archived file, the policy engine creates a small space saving subfiles in the primary storage. So we can create some log files within the primary in order to get the identification regarding where exactly those informations are located within the secondary storage. When a user tires to access the same files, and already in the primary storage will be having the location where exactly the respective data is stored within the secondary. So suppose any user wants to access those set of inactive data from the primary, we can get the original locations of the secondary, and the users can access the data files from the secondary storage. So this is how we can implement inter-array storage tiering by considering two different arrays like primary storage as well as secondary storage, and it also specifies how we can relocate the less frequently used data from tier 1 to tier 2 architecture.